Texas is a land of vast deserts, dense forests, winding rivers, and endless plains. But beneath its natural beauty lies something darker, places where the wind carries whispers, where the ground hides shadows, and where the spirits of the past still linger. Many think of haunted houses or abandoned hospitals when they imagine ghosts. But what if the land itself could hold on to pain? What if the forests and mountains and caves could remember every scream, every drop of blood, every secret that was never meant to be told? In Texas, nature itself becomes haunted, rivers where phantom lights dance across the surface, cliffs where shadowy figures stand at the edge before vanishing into thin air, forests where people enter and never return, caves where the echoes are not always your own, and deserts where travelers hear footsteps following them long after the road has disappeared. These are places where legends were born, where tragedies unfolded, where restless spirits still claim the land as their own. And tonight, we will walk into those wild places, far from the comfort of walls, far from the safety of cities, deep into the haunted heart of Texas. You will hear the true stories, you will feel the chill in your bones, and you will discover that sometimes the most terrifying hauntings are not locked behind doors, they are waiting in the open, under the sky, in the very land itself. But before we begin this dark journey through the natural haunted places of Texas, make sure you subscribe, join this community of wanderers who dare to step into the unknown. Every week I bring you real hauntings, true legends, and terrifying stories that most people are too afraid to even whisper. So subscribe now, turn on notifications, and prepare yourself. Because once you hear these stories, once you step into these haunted landscapes, you may never look at the woods, the rivers, or the desert the same way again. This is the top 10 most haunted natural places in Texas. Haunted natural place number 1. The Marfa Lights, Marfa, Texas. Out in the desolate plains of West Texas, where the desert stretches endlessly beneath a dark sky, lies one of the state's most unsettling mysteries, the Marfa Lights. For more than a century, strange glowing orbs have been reported floating and dancing just outside the small town of Marfa. They appear without warning, usually at night, hovering low above the scrubland, pulsing in colors of red, white, blue, or yellow, then suddenly darting across the horizon or vanishing into the blackness. Some say they are nothing more than car headlights or atmospheric reflections, but those who have stood in silence watching them insist otherwise. Witnesses describe the lights behaving in ways no car or natural explanation could mimic, splitting into multiple glowing orbs, merging back together, or chasing each other across the desert floor. The locals whisper that the lights are spirits, perhaps the souls of Native Americans who once roamed this land, or restless cowboys lost on the trail, or even something much older, something that predates human history in Texas. Imagine standing there alone, the desert wind brushing against your skin, the silence so heavy you can hear your own heartbeat, when suddenly a ball of light flickers into existence in the distance. It hovers, sways side to side like it's watching you, then rushes closer until it seems only yards away before disappearing without a trace. Visitors have reported being followed by these orbs, as if the lights themselves were curious or perhaps warning trespassers to leave. Some believe the Marfa Lights are a gateway, a thin place where the veil between worlds is weak. Skeptics may laugh, but even scientists who have tried to study the phenomenon leave Marfa with more questions than answers. And locals know better than to scoff. They tell stories of travelers who mocked the lights, only to find themselves lost on the desert roads, wandering in circles until dawn, shaken and unwilling to ever speak of what they saw. The Marfa Lights remain one of the most enduring and chilling mysteries of Texas. Whether spirits, omens, or something extraterrestrial, they have turned this quiet desert into one of the most haunted natural landscapes in America. Number 2. Caddo Lake, East Texas. Caddo Lake is not like any ordinary lake. It is vast, covering more than 26,000 acres of mysterious waters, and it is one of the only natural lakes in Texas. But what makes it unforgettable and for some, terrifying, is the atmosphere that surrounds it. The lake is covered with thick moss draped over towering bald cypress trees, their roots twisting out of the dark water like skeletal fingers reaching for the sky. At dawn or dusk, a heavy mist rises from the surface, curling through the trees, muffling every sound, and turning the lake into something that looks like it belongs in another world. Those who live near Caddo Lake say that it is haunted. They whisper that spirits wander through the fog, that strange shadows move across the water when no one is there, and that at night you can hear voices carried across the still surface. Fishermen speak of hearing footsteps splashing in the shallows, as if someone unseen is walking just behind them. Some report seeing glowing orbs drifting above the water, sometimes darting between the trees before vanishing without a trace. The legends tied to Caddo Lake run deep. The Caddo people who gave the lake its name believed that this body of water was a sacred place, born out of both destruction and divine intervention. The stories tell of a great earthquake or flood, a punishment or warning from the gods that created the lake. Because of this, many believe the spirits of ancestors still roam here, protecting the water, but also warning the living to show respect. As history marched forward, the lake became a place of settlement, trade, and even crime. In the 1800s, steamboats traveled these waters, carrying passengers and goods through the twisting channels. With them came danger, disease, and tragedy. Some boats sank, some passengers drowned, and others simply vanished into the fog, never to be seen again. Locals say that sometimes, on the quietest nights, you can hear the faint whistle of a steamboat that no longer exists, or see the outline of a phantom ship gliding silently across the water. Hunters and campers who venture into the swampy edges of the lake tell chilling tales. They speak of eyes watching from the trees, of branches snapping when no animal is near, of sudden cold spots in the middle of the humid summer air. Some have even claimed to see figures, shadows shaped like people standing knee-deep in the water, staring with hollow eyes before melting back into the mist. Perhaps the most unsettling thing about Caddo Lake is the silence. It is not the peaceful quiet of a calm lake, but a suffocating silence, the kind that makes you feel that the world is holding its breath. Then, without warning, that silence can shatter, replaced by the echo of a scream across the water, a splash with no cause, or the sound of something massive moving beneath the surface. Even animals seem uneasy here. Dogs refuse to step near the shore, barking and whining as if they see something their owners cannot. Birds will suddenly stop singing, leaving only the sound of the wind pushing through the moss. And fishermen who spend their lives on the water admit that sometimes they reel in more than fish. They feel a tug on their line, something powerful, something unseen, pulling from the depths, only to release with no explanation. Skeptics say the stories are just swamp gas, echoes, or imagination. But those who have spent a night on Caddo Lake know the truth. There is something alive here, something that does not belong to this world, something that has always been here. It hides in the shadows of the cypress trees, in the curl of the fog, in the ripples of the dark water. And it waits for those who wander too far, who dare to challenge the silence, who forget to respect the spirits that claim the lake as their own. If you ever find yourself drifting in a small boat at dusk, as the mist rolls in and the trees grow tall around you, listen closely. Do you hear the water lapping gently against the wood, or do you hear footsteps pacing beside you on the surface of the lake? Do you see only mist, or does a figure wait for you among the cypress knees? And if the air grows cold, if your skin prickles with dread, remember, you are not alone. At Caddo Lake you never are. Number 3, Devil's Backbone, Texas Hill Country. The Devil's Backbone is a rugged limestone ridge that cuts across the Texas Hill Country, and while it is breathtaking in its beauty during the day, it transforms into something entirely different once night falls. The road that winds along this ridge is long and lonely, stretching between Wimberley and Blanco, surrounded by rolling hills, thick woods, and the endless stretch of open land. Drivers who have taken this road after sunset often describe it as unsettling, as though the air itself is heavy with memories of sorrow and violence. The stories of hauntings along the Devil's Backbone are many, and they are not the kind that fade with time. Locals will tell you that the ridge is haunted by the restless spirits of Native Americans, Confederate soldiers, and settlers who fought, bled, and died on this land. Shadowy riders on horseback are said to patrol the hills, galloping silently under the moonlight, their ghostly figures visible for only a moment before vanishing into the rocks and trees. Some witnesses claim to hear the thunder of hooves pounding the earth, though when they look, nothing is there, only the still, empty land stretching out before them. Campers along the backbone often report the cries of unseen men, the clash of weapons, and the mournful wails of the wounded. Others speak of ghostly figures standing guard on the cliffs, watching silently, their forms shimmering like smoke before dissolving into the darkness. Travelers at night sometimes encounter spectral hitchhikers, lone figures walking along the roadside, only to disappear into thin air when approached. The Devil's Backbone is not only haunted by human spirits, but also by a strange energy that lingers in the land itself. Some people describe feelings of sudden dread, chills running through their bodies even on the hottest nights, or an overwhelming sensation of being watched. There are even tales of glowing lights floating among the hills, drifting slowly before shooting off into the sky, leaving behind no trace. It is said that the ridge earned its name not just from its jagged appearance, but from the dark and violent history that soaks the soil. Battles between native tribes and settlers, the horrors of war and tragic deaths along the trail all left scars that can never truly fade. The land remembers, and those memories echo through the centuries, carried in whispers on the wind and in the faint cries that haunt the night. Even the wildlife behaves strangely here. Horses and dogs refuse to walk certain parts of the trail, pawing at the ground, their ears pinned back as if sensing what their owners cannot. Hunters who venture too close to the ridge speak of hearing footsteps behind them, heavy and deliberate, only to turn and find no one there. Some even claim that stones are thrown from the darkness, landing at their feet, as if something unseen wants to drive them away. The most chilling accounts are those of spectral soldiers, dressed in tattered Confederate uniforms, seen standing in the mist that clings to the ridge at dawn. Their faces are pale, their eyes empty, and their bodies seem half real, half made of smoke. They appear silently, and just as quickly they fade, leaving only the memory of cold terror in the hearts of those who witness them. If you drive the Devil's Backbone at night, with the moon casting its silver light across the limestone cliffs and the wind whispering through the trees, you might feel that same sensation, the weight of countless eyes on you, the sound of hoofbeats in the distance, the flash of a shadow darting across the road. You might tell yourself it is only your imagination, but deep down you will know the truth. The Devil's Backbone is more than just a road, it is a passage through haunted ground, a place where history refuses to die, where the spirits of the past still ride, still fight, and still watch from the shadows. Number 4, Bragg Road, Saratoga. Bragg Road, better known as the Ghost Road, cuts deep into the Big Thicket of East Texas, a remote stretch of wilderness where the trees grow thick, the air is heavy, and silence hangs like a veil. During the day, the road feels desolate, a dirt path winding endlessly between towering pines and tangled undergrowth. But once night falls, it becomes something entirely different, a place where legends come alive and the line between the living and the dead seems to blur. The most famous story tied to Bragg Road is that of the Saratoga Light, a mysterious glowing orb that appears along the path. Witnesses describe it as a bright, floating ball of light that moves silently, drifting closer and closer until it suddenly vanishes. Some say it is the lantern of a ghostly railroad worker who lost his head in an accident, doomed to search for it forever. Others believe it is the spirit of a man murdered in the woods, carrying his lantern as he looks for justice. Whatever the truth may be, countless travelers have seen the light, and each describes the same feeling, a mix of awe and fear, as if the very air around them has changed. The road itself was once the site of an old logging railroad, and many deaths took place here, from accidents on the tracks to violent clashes in the woods. Locals say that the land remembers, that the echoes of those lives linger, trapped in the shadows of the trees. At night, people hear footsteps pacing along the road, the distant sound of a train whistle that never comes, and faint voices calling from the darkness. Sometimes the voices are soft and pleading, other times angry and commanding, always leaving those who hear them shaken. Visitors who park their cars in the middle of the road report strange occurrences, their engines stalling without reason, their headlights flickering, their radios filling with static and whispers. Some claim to feel invisible hands brushing against their arms or pressing against their backs, while others see figures standing in the treeline, just beyond the reach of the light, watching silently. Hunters and campers who venture into the Big Thicket near Bragg Road often leave quickly, frightened by the sound of snapping branches and heavy footsteps trailing them, as if something unseen is keeping pace. The Saratoga Light is not the only phenomenon. Drivers have spoken of shadowy riders on horseback galloping across the road, spectral men in old logging clothes emerging from the brush, and even phantom wagons creaking in the distance. Some believe these are spirits tied to the violent history of the area, while others insist the Big Thicket itself holds a kind of dark energy, a natural power that feeds these hauntings and makes them stronger. What makes Bragg Road so terrifying is that the experiences are not isolated. Generations of people have come here, from locals to curious travelers, and the stories remain the same. The light appears, sometimes white, sometimes red, sometimes glowing with an eerie green tint, and it always leaves behind the same chilling effect, a certainty that you have just seen something not of this world. Many who live nearby refuse to drive Bragg Road at night. They say that once you see the light, it changes you, it stays with you, and sometimes it even follows you home. A few brave souls have tried to chase it, running or driving after the glowing orb, only to find it vanish completely, leaving them stranded in the suffocating darkness of the woods. The Big Thicket is already an eerie place, but Bragg Road takes that unease and turns it into something unforgettable, something otherworldly. If you ever find yourself in Saratoga, standing at the entrance to Bragg Road as the sun dips below the horizon, you may feel the pull to go down that dirt path, to test the legends for yourself. And if you do, remember this: once the night grows silent and the trees close in around you, you may see the light flicker in the distance. And once it does, you will never forget it, because Bragg Road is more than just a road. It is a place where the spirits of the past still walk, where mystery lingers in the dark, and where the unknown is waiting just beyond the glow. Number 5. Enchanted Rock, Fredericksburg. Rising out of the Texas Hill Country, Enchanted Rock is a massive pink granite dome, one of the largest in North America. During the day, it is a popular hiking spot, a place where people climb to the summit to see endless skies and rugged landscapes. But as night falls, the rock transforms into something altogether different, a place wrapped in mystery, fear, and stories that stretch back for centuries. The Tonkawa, Apache, and Comanche tribes believed the rock was sacred. They spoke of spirits that lived within it, of lights that danced across its surface, and of strange sounds that echoed from inside the granite itself. To them, the rock was alive, a place where the earth breathed, and where unseen forces moved beneath its surface. Even today, people who camp nearby report hearing unsettling noises, moans, and drumming sounds that seem to come from deep within the stone. Legends say that warriors and settlers who died on the land still linger here. Visitors speak of shadowy figures moving across the summit, of whispers carried on the wind even when no one else is around, and of sudden cold spots despite the Texas heat. At times, hikers report the sensation of being watched, as if unseen eyes follow them along the trail, waiting for them to make a wrong step. One of the most chilling accounts involves the mysterious lights. People describe glowing orbs floating above the dome, shifting colors and darting across the night sky. Some say these are ghostly spirits, others believe they are energy left behind from centuries of rituals, and a few even claim the lights belong to something not of this world. Those who have seen them say the orbs appear suddenly, hover in silence, then vanish into thin air, leaving behind only an unsettling silence. The rock is also tied to tales of disappearances. Hikers who wander too far at night sometimes vanish for hours, returning disoriented, unable to explain where they went or what happened to them. A few claim they were lured by voices calling their names, voices that seemed familiar but did not belong to anyone they knew. These strange experiences have led many to believe that Enchanted Rock holds a portal, a doorway between worlds, one that opens only when the conditions are right. There are also stories of people climbing to the summit only to feel hands pressing against their backs, cold and forceful, as if something is trying to push them forward, or perhaps off the edge. Campers at the base have woken in the night to find their fires extinguished, their tents disturbed, and the sound of footsteps circling their camp. The most unnerving detail is that the footsteps often stop suddenly, right at the tent flap, before fading away. Locals whisper that the spirits here are ancient, older than any tribe, older than the settlers, perhaps even older than the rock itself. Some believe the dome holds a kind of primal energy, one that draws spirits and amplifies them, creating a place where the living and the dead overlap. Whatever the truth may be, Enchanted Rock continues to draw those brave enough to test its mysteries, and many leave with stories they cannot explain. So if you ever find yourself in Fredericksburg, standing at the foot of the massive dome as the last light of the sun fades and the night takes hold, remember the legends. Listen closely to the wind, watch for the glowing orbs, and tread carefully, because Enchanted Rock is more than just a natural wonder. It is a place of hauntings, a place where the past still lingers, and where the rock itself seems to breathe with secrets that may never be fully uncovered. Number 6. Big Thicket National Preserve, Southeast Texas. The Big Thicket is one of the most mysterious and unsettling landscapes in Texas, a sprawling wilderness of swamps, dense forests, twisting trails, and waterways that seem to stretch on forever. Covering over 100,000 acres, this preserve has been called the biological crossroads of North America because of its wide variety of plant and animal life. But while scientists study its rare species, Locals and visitors whisper about something much darker, stories of strange lights, terrifying sounds, and apparitions that haunt the tangled woods. The Big Thicket has always carried a reputation for being untamed, wild, and difficult to understand. Early settlers who tried to carve homes in the thick forest reported eerie experiences. They spoke of being followed by shadowy figures, of lights dancing between the trees at night, and of phantom voices that called their names. Some claimed the thicket itself was alive, shifting and twisting, trapping those who dared to wander too deep. One of the most famous legends is the story of the ghost road lights, strange glowing orbs that appear on deserted paths deep within the thicket. These lights have been described as white, yellow, or red, floating just above the ground, moving silently through the trees, then vanishing without a trace. Locals believe they are the souls of travelers who lost their way, forever wandering the forest. Others say they are omens, warning intruders that they should leave before something worse finds them. The thicket is also tied to darker tales of murder and outlaws. In the 19th century, criminals often used its dense woods as a hiding place, and many violent deaths occurred under its canopy. People believe the spirits of these men still linger there, restless and angry, searching for revenge. Hikers have reported feeling sudden waves of fear, as if someone is standing just behind them, watching, breathing down their neck, though no one is ever there. There are chilling stories of people disappearing in the thicket, only to be found days later, confused and unable to explain where they had been. Some return with scratches covering their bodies, others with the memory of hearing children laughing in the distance, though no children could possibly survive in such a place alone. A few who never return at all become part of the countless missing that the preserve holds in its history, swallowed by the swamp and the shadows. Visitors often report hearing unexplained sounds. At night, the cries of animals echo in strange ways, sounding almost human, with wails and screams carrying through the trees. Some say they've heard drumming, chanting, or footsteps in the underbrush, only to find nothing when they investigate. Hunters and campers tell of glowing eyes watching them from the darkness, sometimes too high off the ground to belong to any ordinary animal. One unsettling legend speaks of a shape-shifting creature, half human and half beast, that prowls the forest at night. Described as tall, with glowing red eyes and a terrible smell, this figure has been blamed for livestock deaths and strange attacks. Those who encounter it say it moves unnaturally fast, vanishing into the thicket before they can react. Whether it is a ghost, a demon, or something else entirely, it adds to the fear that grips anyone who walks the trails after dark. The Big Thicket also has deep ties to Native American stories. Tribes once used the forest for hunting and rituals, and some legends say it was a sacred place, guarded by spirits. They warned outsiders not to disrespect the land, or the spirits would punish them. Even now, some visitors say they feel a heavy presence when they enter certain parts of the preserve, as if they've stepped into a place they should not be. And then there are the whispers about portals, strange doorways hidden in the dense woods that lead to other worlds. Some hikers claim they suddenly feel disoriented, the air growing thick and heavy, time seeming to shift around them. They describe the forest changing, the sounds growing distant, and then just as suddenly they find themselves back where they started, unsure if what they experienced was real or not. The Big Thicket is beautiful during the day, full of life and light, but when the sun dips below the horizon, the forest takes on an entirely different nature. The air grows damp and cold, the shadows stretch long, and every sound seems amplified. It is then that the legends feel closest, when the glowing lights might appear between the trees, when the whispers might reach your ear, and when the thicket seems to hold you in its grasp. So if you ever find yourself in Southeast Texas, standing at the edge of the Big Thicket as the evening settles in, remember that this preserve is more than just wilderness. It is a haunted place, a place of legends and restless spirits, a place where the natural and supernatural collide. And once you step into its depths, you may never know if you're walking alone or if something unseen is walking with you just beyond the trees. Number 7. White Rock Lake, Dallas. White Rock Lake is one of the most famous haunted locations in Texas, and it is a place where beauty and terror exist side by side. By day it is a peaceful lake surrounded by trails, trees, and families enjoying picnics or fishing. But when the sun begins to set and the waters grow dark, a chilling story rises from the depths. This is the home of the legendary Lady of the Lake, a phantom figure who has terrified generations of locals and visitors. The legend tells of a young woman dressed in a soaking wet white gown, pale, silent, and wandering along the shoreline. Drivers traveling near the lake have claimed to see her suddenly appear on the roadside at night, waving for help, shivering and begging for a ride. Those who stop to pick her up say she quietly gives them an address in Dallas, climbs into the back seat, and sits in silence as water drips from her gown, soaking into the upholstery. When the driver finally reaches the address and turns to let her out, she is gone, vanished into thin air, leaving only a puddle of water where she had been sitting. Stories of this ghostly hitchhiker date back to the 1930s and have persisted ever since, passed down through countless retellings. Some believe she was a young woman who drowned in the lake, her spirit forever bound to the waters that took her life. Others think she may have been the victim of a tragic accident or even foul play. No matter the cause, her restless spirit seems unable to leave the lake behind. But the Lady of the Lake is not the only mystery here. Fishermen and late-night joggers tell of hearing footsteps along the shore when no one is there, of seeing strange ripples on the still water as if something unseen is rising to the surface. At times, figures are spotted walking across the dam or standing by the trees, only to dissolve when approached. Strange lights, described as orbs or glowing reflections, sometimes appear hovering just above the water before fading away. The eeriness of White Rock Lake is magnified by its quietness at night. The dark water reflects only fragments of moonlight, the trees cast long, twisted shadows, and the sound of frogs or crickets can suddenly go silent as if the entire lake is holding its breath. Visitors often describe a feeling of unease, as though they are being watched, as though someone is standing behind them even when they are alone. Police officers patrolling the area over the decades have even reported encountering the ghostly woman. Some accounts say she has been picked up multiple times by unsuspecting drivers, always disappearing before reaching her destination. Her story has become so well known that she is almost a permanent resident of Dallas folklore, a reminder of how tragedy can echo through time and how spirits may cling to the places where their lives ended. White Rock Lake is also surrounded by other unsettling tales. Some say they have seen a ghostly horse and rider galloping along the trails, their figures glowing faintly in the dark. Others have claimed to hear splashes in the water late at night, followed by the sound of someone gasping for breath, though no one is visible in the lake. A few even speak of figures rising from the water itself, like silhouettes of drowned souls climbing toward the shore. What makes this haunting so powerful is its repetition. The Lady of the Lake has been seen by so many people in so many decades that her legend refuses to fade. Each new witness adds to her story, and each new encounter keeps her memory alive. Whether you believe she is a lost spirit or just a ghostly tale meant to scare drivers at night, White Rock Lake remains one of the most haunted natural places in Texas. So if you ever find yourself driving along the quiet roads near White Rock Lake after midnight, keep an eye on the shadows by the water. Because you may see her standing there, her gown dripping, her eyes pleading, waiting for someone kind enough to stop. And if you do, you might give her a ride, but do not be surprised if she disappears before you ever reach her home, leaving you with nothing but fear, an empty seat, and a puddle of water as proof that you were not alone. Number 8. Goatman's Bridge, Denton. Goatman's Bridge, officially known as the Old Alton Bridge, is one of the most infamous haunted locations in all of Texas, a place where local legend and terrifying encounters merge into a story that has endured for generations. This rusty iron truss bridge, built in 1884, once carried horses, wagons, and eventually cars across Hickory Creek, but today it is better known as a place of shadows, whispers, and fear. The legend surrounding Goatman's Bridge is as dark as the woods that surround it. The most popular tale speaks of a black goat farmer who lived near the bridge during the 1930s, known for being kind-hearted and for selling goats to the local community. According to the story, he was murdered by racist men who resented his success. They dragged him to the bridge, tied a noose around his neck, and hung him over the side. When they returned to check his body, it had vanished. Some say he returned from the dead, becoming the Goatman, a vengeful spirit with the head of a goat and the body of a man, cursed to wander the bridge and its surroundings for eternity. Ever since, stories of the Goatman have terrified locals and thrill-seekers alike. Witnesses say that if you cross the bridge at night and call out his name 3 times, he will appear, glowing red eyes staring through the dark, accompanied by the sound of heavy hooves stomping across the wooden planks. Some visitors report hearing growls from the shadows. Others describe being overwhelmed by the stench of decay, and many have claimed to feel hands shoving them as if something unseen is trying to push them off the bridge. But the Goatman is not the only presence tied to Old Alton Bridge. The area has a long history of strange happenings, from mysterious lights flickering in the woods to shadowy figures that dart across the road. People walking across the bridge at night often hear footsteps behind them, only to turn and find no one there. Some have even captured unexplained shapes on cameras, horned silhouettes, red glowing eyes, or ghostly mist swirling around the trusses. Many paranormal investigators have visited Goatman's Bridge, drawn by its sinister reputation. They report sudden temperature drops, disembodied voices calling their names, and equipment malfunctioning without reason. Psychics have described feeling an overwhelming sense of anger and violence, as though the land itself has absorbed centuries of pain and hatred. The dense trees surrounding the bridge add to the sense of isolation, cutting off moonlight and amplifying every rustle, every whisper of wind, until the night itself feels alive. What makes Goatman's Bridge especially terrifying is how personal the encounters feel. This is not just a place where strange sounds echo or shadows appear. This is a location where visitors feel targeted. People describe scratches on their arms and backs after leaving, deep bruises they cannot explain, and even hearing growling voices inside their own heads. Some have run screaming from the bridge, convinced something was chasing them. The history of the land only deepens the fear. Long before the bridge was built, Native American tribes considered the area cursed, a place where dark spirits lingered. Later, during the 19th century, the woods nearby were rumored to be the site of lynchings and violence, staining the earth with blood and sorrow. When you stand on the bridge at night, surrounded by silence and darkness, it feels as though all that history presses in, heavy and suffocating, reminding you that you are not welcome. Despite its reputation, Goatman's Bridge has become a rite of passage for ghost hunters and thrill seekers. Some come to prove their bravery, others come hoping to catch a glimpse of the Goatman himself. Many leave with nothing but a racing heartbeat and a sense of relief, but others leave shaken, swearing they will never return. The stories continue to spread, feeding the legend, ensuring that the Goatman will never be forgotten. So if you ever find yourself in Denton, standing at the entrance of Old Alton Bridge, remember this. Once you step onto those creaking planks, you are stepping into a place where the past and present blur, where the darkness hides more than shadows, and where the Goatman might just be waiting. Cross if you dare, but do not be surprised if something crosses with you. Number 9. Palo Duro Canyon near Amarillo. Palo Duro Canyon, often called the Grand Canyon of Texas, is breathtaking in its beauty, stretching for miles with towering cliffs, deep ravines, and winding trails carved by wind and time. Yet behind its stunning scenery lies a history soaked in blood, sorrow, and mystery, making it one of the most haunted natural places in Texas. Long before settlers arrived, the canyon was home to Native American tribes, including the Comanche and Apache, who believed the land carried a spiritual presence. The canyon was not just a home but also a battleground, a place of both life and death. The infamous Red River War of 1874 brought devastation here, when the U.S. Army forced tribes out, killing hundreds of horses and destroying camps. Many believe the screams of those slaughtered still echo through the canyon walls, trapped forever in the red stone. Visitors today report chilling experiences that cannot be explained by nature alone. Hikers and campers speak of ghostly riders seen galloping across the ridges at dusk, their forms vanishing into thin air as the sound of hooves continues to pound the earth. Some say they have heard war cries carried on the wind, followed by silence so heavy it feels unnatural. Others have stumbled upon cold spots in the middle of blazing summer heat, as though walking through an invisible shadow from the past. The most famous legend of Palo Duro Canyon is that of the Lady in White. She is described as a woman draped in a flowing dress, seen wandering the cliffs and trails, sometimes near the rim, sometimes deep in the canyon. Some say she is the spirit of a settler's wife who fell to her death. Others believe she is a Comanche woman mourning the massacre of her people. Witnesses who have encountered her describe a sudden sense of sadness, the air thickening around them, and the strange feeling of being watched even after she fades away. Campers tell stories of restless nights, where the crackling of the campfire is drowned out by whispers in the dark. Some wake to find shadowy figures circling their tents, only to vanish when lights are shined. Rangers and locals alike admit that certain parts of the canyon feel different after nightfall, as though the land itself is alive, holding on to memories too tragic to release. The canyon size makes it even more unsettling. With vast stretches of wilderness, it is easy to feel completely isolated, yet many who explore here insist they are not alone. Photographs taken by visitors sometimes reveal strange shapes, mist-like figures standing among the rocks, or glowing orbs floating in the distance. Paranormal investigators have captured disembodied voices and sounds of drumming, faint but unmistakable, as though the canyon walls are repeating the rhythms of an ancient time. For some, the beauty of Palo Duro Canyon masks its darker side. By day it is a place of hiking, horse riding, and stunning vistas. By night it becomes something else entirely, a place where the line between the living and the dead blurs, where echoes of the past rise with the wind, and where spirits still wander, bound to the land they once called home. So if you stand at the edge of Palo Duro Canyon, gazing into the vast expanse below, listen carefully. The sound you hear might be the wind, or it might be something older, something watching, something that never left. Number 10. Rio Frio, Uvalde County. Rio Frio in Uvalde County is one of the most chilling yet beautiful natural spots in Texas. Known for its crystal-clear river waters that run cold even in the heat of summer, the name itself means cold river, and while families come here to swim, fish, and camp, locals whisper of a darker side that hides beneath the calm flow of water. The most famous legend tied to Rio Frio is the ghost of a young woman named Maria Juarez, often called the White Lady of Rio Frio. She was said to be a kind and beautiful woman, admired by many, but her story turned to tragedy when she fell in love with a man who never returned her affection. Betrayed and broken-hearted, she died in sorrow, and ever since, her spirit has been seen wandering along the banks of the river. Travelers and campers describe her as a figure dressed in white, glowing faintly under the moonlight, drifting silently along the water's edge, sometimes even appearing in the middle of the road near the river, her face pale, her expression filled with sadness. Some who have encountered her claim to feel a sudden drop in temperature, as though the air itself freezes around them, a cold that no fire or blanket can push away. The Rio Frio ghost is said to appear mostly at night, especially when the moon reflects off the water, creating eerie silver ripples. Locals tell stories of people driving near the river who see her on the roadside, only for her to vanish as soon as headlights pass over her. Others who camp nearby claim to wake up in the dead of night to see her standing silently among the trees, her eyes watching, her presence both sorrowful and frightening. Many believe she is harmless, more a lost soul searching for peace than a spirit seeking revenge, but her appearances are so unsettling that even the bravest admit the river feels different after sundown. The laughter of children playing during the day is replaced by silence, broken only by the rush of water, and in that silence, some swear they can hear whispers, faint weeping, or the sound of footsteps crunching on gravel though no one is there. The haunting of Rio Frio is deeply tied to the land and the water itself, a reminder that beauty can hide sorrow, and that nature, no matter how peaceful it looks, sometimes carries echoes of human heartbreak. To this day, those who pass through Uvalde County slow down when they reach the river, some out of respect, others out of fear because they know the White Lady may be waiting, watching, and wandering by the water she will never leave. As we come to the end of our chilling journey through Texas' most haunted natural places, it is clear that the Lone Star State is far more than deserts, rivers, canyons, and endless skies. Beneath the beauty of its landscapes lies a darker layer, woven with legends, whispers, and shadows that refuse to fade. From the strange floating orbs of the Marfa lights to the eerie cries echoing across the Devil's Backbone, from the ghostly hitchhiker at White Rock Lake to the sorrowful White Lady of Rio Frio, each place reminds us that Texas is alive not only with history, but also with stories that reach beyond the grave. When the sun shines, these places seem harmless, inviting, and alive with nature's energy. Families camp, fishermen cast their lines, hikers walk ancient trails, and tourists snap photos of scenic wonders. But when darkness falls, everything changes. The night draws a curtain over the land, and with it come the whispers, the footsteps, the sudden chill in the air. The rivers begin to murmur, the forests creak and groan, and the winds carry voices that may not belong to the living. It is in those moments, standing alone in the middle of a canyon, driving along a lonely road, or camping by a riverbank, that you begin to feel the presence of something unseen. Some say these hauntings are nothing more than folklore, stories crafted to scare children and thrill seekers. But ask the locals, ask those who have lived by these places for generations, and their answers will chill you to the bone. They will tell you of nights when shadows followed them, of times when the air grew unnaturally cold, of headlights catching figures that were no longer human. They will tell you of footsteps along the trails when no one else was around, of phantom laughter drifting across the water, and of figures in white that appear, then vanish, leaving only fear behind. Perhaps these hauntings are echoes of tragic lives cut short, spirits unable to rest because of sorrow, betrayal, or violent deaths. Or perhaps the land itself remembers, holding on to the pain of the past, replaying it again and again. Whatever the reason, the truth is that Texas holds secrets in its hills, rivers, and canyons, secrets that the living cannot fully explain. And if you dare to visit these places, you may carry home a story of your own, one you will never forget. So, which of these haunted natural places would you be brave enough to explore after dark? Would you walk the misty trails of Caddo Lake, knowing something might be watching you from the shadows? Would you drive along Bragg Road, waiting to see the mysterious light appear before you? Or would you dare to stand on the banks of Rio Frio, hoping the White Lady does not appear by your side? If you enjoyed this terrifying journey into the haunted heart of Texas, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps us bring you more spine-chilling stories. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another tale of ghosts, legends, and dark encounters. And share this video with your friends if you dare, so they too can experience the eerie wonders of Texas' most haunted landscapes. Remember, these places are real and people continue to visit them every day. Some return with nothing but photos, others with memories they can never quite explain. Maybe one day you will find yourself standing at the edge of one of these haunted places, feeling that cold chill wrap around you and realizing you are no longer alone. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and above all, stay brave.